Unless we do have some sort of long-term vision of the future and look a little bit beyond the immediate problems of this year and next, I think we shall deny ourselves one of the most important gifts that science and engineering give us.
One has to have an idea that coordinates, if possible, all the problems with which we are concerned.
In the spring of 1968, an architectural model was unveiled at a press conference in London. Having taken 6 months to build, it was the miniature realisation of a utopian future that would never come to pass. Welcome to Sea City. Sea City was a remarkable model of a remarkable idea, building a self-sustaining city of 30,000 people in the sea. It was the brainchild of the Pilkington Glass Age Development Committee, and the model itself was made by Thorpe Model Makers. The Pilkington Glass Age Development Committee had been established by Pilkington Brothers Limited in 1937, with the aim of promoting the use of glass as a building material. Drawing Maxwell Fry and FRS York into its inaugural committee, for over 30 years it became the home of wildly speculative and utopian architectural dreams. By the 1960s, the committee was chaired by Uwe Arup, Geoffrey Jellicoe and Edward Mills. Sea City was the 7th project the committee had produced, and throughout the 1950s and 1960s, their ideas were always accompanied by impressive models produced by Thorpe Model Makers, Britain's leading architectural model makers after more than 80 years in business. Motopia, Soho 2000, Crystal Tower 61, the Crystal Span, Skyport 1, all were realised to exacting detail in model form, but none were as ambitious as the model for Sea City. The Sea City concept was introduced to the world's press at a conference held in March 1968 at the Park Lane Hilton Hotel in London. Tony Benn, then Minister of Technology, was the guest speaker, adding considerable weight to the proposals, for Sea City was not just an idle dream, but a fully thought-through blueprint for a possible future. Designed by Hal Moggridge, John Martin and Ken Anthony, Sea City was a solution to the problems of its age. A recognition of the Earth's finite resources, and fears that oil, gas, food and land were all running out, had led to many speculative ideas, such as building huge cylindrical space stations in orbit to absorb the seemingly unstoppable growth of the human population. With man yet to step on the moon in 1968, colonising space seemed a distant dream. But given that 60% of the Earth's surface was covered by water, could we not colonise that instead?
One has to have an idea that coordinates, if possible, all the problems with which we are concerned. It must take on a shape which is related to nature, that it be like a shellfish, a strong outside to resist the winds and the gales of the North Sea, and a soft inside where we can all live agreeably.
Thorpe Model Makers, by this time being run by Ray Fendler, who had taken over the business after Leslie Thorpe, the son of the company's founder John Thorpe, had retired, took great pride in all the models they made, photographing each and every one that left their premises. In the company's archive, now held by Arts University Bournemouth, alongside photographs and drawings of the model, is a rare copy of a documentary that was filmed at the conference for the Glass Age Committee. Never before broadcast, few people have ever seen the footage it contains.
To enable every flat to have the maximum winter sunshine, the east and west terrace blocks are angled to the south.
At the end of the conference, Tony Benn was asked to switch on the lights of the model, just as he might have cut a ribbon to open a new building. For the Glass Age Committee, the model was as real as this project was ever likely to get, and so the model became the physical embodiment of years of hard work, imagination and hope. Sea City was a megastructure, envisioned as a thriving city-sized community built over Dogger Bank, some 20 miles off the coast of Norfolk in the North Sea, and planned to be the home to some 30,000 people. A concrete outer sea wall would enclose an internal lagoon, with 10,000 people living in glass-fronted houses stacked over 16 terraced levels within the wall, and 20,000 more living on floating islands below. The seawall was to be 180 feet high and designed to deflect the strong sea winds up and over the lagoon, the waters of which would be heated so that rising air currents would help carry the air above the city to create a calmer climate within. The entire structure was planned to be a mile long and 3/4 of a mile wide. Transport to and from the city would be handled by hovercraft and helicopter, with a water bus service to ferry people across the lagoon. Schools, churches, parks, football pitches, even a marine zoo would be included, while a marine college would help train people for employment at fish farming plants or in the dredging of sand from the sea floor. The model that Thorpe was commissioned to make had to serve several different purposes. As the primary means of telling the whole story of the proposal, it had to communicate its rationale, its engineering principles, and give a compelling glimpse into how everyday life in the city might unfold. Built at 1:500 scale over a period of 6 months, the model was made from over 20,000 separate parts and was internally lit from below using low-voltage neon tubes. Partly diagrammatic in nature, individual buildings within the lagoon were made from translucent blocks of perspex, coloured to denote their function: yellow for community spaces, green for schools, red for leisure, and blue for shops and commerce. And the model also had to prove that the basic concept was sound. At Leicester University, one half of the model was fully tested in a wind tunnel to simulate the airflow up and over the seawall and lagoon, tests that it passed with flying colours. The Sea City Conference was a huge success, with Thorpe's model dominating both the press conference itself and the documentary that followed. Photographs of the model became widely featured in newspapers, journals and magazines over the next 18 months. But like all utopian dreams, there was little chance of Sea City ever actually being built, and so the model, in a parallel miniature world, was as real as it ever became. Yesterday's future, captured in photographs and on film, but built as a truly great model.